There is some suspense in the state of Arizona right now, as some Republicans appear to be having second thoughts about whether or not Arizona wants to be the first state in the country with a law in the books that tells businesses it is okay to declare yourself a straight people only establishment, not only in terms of who you hire, but whom you serve at your business. The Arizona legislature on Thursday passed a bill that would allow any Arizona business basically to say they only serve straight people because of the religious beliefs of the business owners. 3 of the Republican senators who voted for that bill just a few days ago apparently were in a daze when they cast their votes because they now regret it. These 3 Republicans, including one who was a guest tonight on the Chris Hayes show, these 3 Republicans now say they wish they had not voted for the anti-gay bill, and they've all sent a letter to Governor Jan Brewer of Arizona asking her today to veto it. Arizona also has 2 Republican U.S. senators, both of whom have also now weighed in and said that they hope that the governor vetoes the bill. The Arizona Chamber of Commerce also weighing in and saying that they, too, hope that Jan Brewer vetoes the bill because Arizona probably cannot stand yet another nationwide boycott of their state for being a pariah on civil rights issues. Governor Jan Brewer has until Saturday to make her decision about what to do on this bill. If she does sign it, the state's economy will probably have to endure something similar to the treatment that Arizona got back in the 90s when it became nationally notorious for rejecting the federal Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. That's how Arizona lost the Super Bowl in 1993. And that was all familiar to the state by 2010 when they became nationally famous again, this time for the state's anti-immigrant Papers, Please law. Even with the Papers, Please law now half gone thanks to a ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court, Arizona, and specifically the state government of Jan Brewer in Arizona, they're still a major priority and a major focal point for immigration activists. Like, for example, the immigration reform group United We Dream, who this weekend held their annual National Congress in Phoenix, bringing more than 500 immigration advocates there to strategize and lay the groundwork for actions this coming year. On the occasion of that big confab of immigration activists, this weekend, the Arizona Republic did some reporting on the prospects for any movement on the immigration reform nationally. The paper quoting the number 2 Democrat in the House, Steny Hoyer, saying that the House Democrats' idea for a discharge petition to get a vote on immigration reform, even if John Boehner doesn't want it. Steny Hoyer telling the paper basically that that probably won't work, but at least it's a way for Democrats to keep the pressure on Republicans on this issue. Not so fast, though, because it's not just Democrats in Washington pressuring Republicans in Washington on this issue. It's not just members of Congress pressuring each other. There's also a big movement here, a big and undercovered and very energized movement for immigration rights. And they're still very, very fired up and very, very ready to go. This is them in Phoenix this weekend. Again, more than 500 people marching through the Capitol to the local detention facility, demanding an end to deportations. This was them in Tacoma, outside Seattle this morning. Protesters chained together. Their arms are in those big sleeves. They're chained together inside that PVC piping, sitting in the pouring rain, blocking entrances at a local detention center, again calling for an end to deportations. This was them last week outside the Eloy Detention Center in Arizona. This was them last week praying and getting arrested in front of the White House, a number of faith leaders getting arrested. Today, another immigration reform group kicked off a bus tour targeting individual members of the House of Representatives in a way that shows that they are just not taking no for an answer. The way the discharge petition works is this. You get a majority of members of the House to sign on, then it doesn't matter that the Speaker doesn't want to vote on it. It gets voted on anyway. If the Democrats could marshal every one of their votes for immigration reform, which it seems like they probably would be able to, given the way that Nancy Pelosi has been able to whip her caucus on all these important votes. If they could get all the Democrats would need 17 Republicans to be willing to side with them on this issue. Then they could get a vote on immigration reform using this discharge petition as a way of getting around House Speaker John Boehner. They need to find 17 Republicans who are willing to take the political hit themselves, to endure the anger from the Republican base, right? The definition of that kind of House Republican right now, frankly, is a House Republican who's leaving, who's retiring, who doesn't have to worry about a primary or running for office again. I mean, if you only have to endure until November, right? Maybe you could do it. On the first list of offices and districts where we know these activists are going on this bus tour, where they're going to be targeting individual House members to try to flip Republican congressmen on this issue, 6 of the Republican members of Congress they have picked to visit in the next few weeks, specifically, are Republicans who are retiring. Republicans who are leaving the House. You guys could cast this vote and never worry about how it's going to affect your next run for office. Part of figuring out if this could happen, or if anything could happen, is figuring out how it works inside Washington, what Washington pressure groups are involved, what the parties think, what the president thinks, how different legislative groups are strategizing on this issue. But that's not all of politics. Politics also happens on the street and in front of buses trying to leave deportation centers and in Jan Brewer's way as she's trying to get to the Arizona state capitol. The immigration movement is only in a very small sense a beltway phenomenon. Are there enough places where they can put enough pressure on the ground, on the street, around the country, where they could make this happen even though the beltway thinks it can't? Watch this space.